Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today as we close out our fall labor and hiring series. My name is Caitlin Russell, and I'm with the International Franchise Association. And I'm just going to give a few quick welcome remarks here before I pass it over to these great speakers. So first, today's topic is alternative recruiting paths and talent pools. Today, the speakers will address underused hiring platforms and pathways that could help your business reach new pools of talent. Today is sponsored by our great IFA member, One Huddle. And before I kick it over to Sam, 2 notes. Today is being recorded and will be made available on our community.franchise.org site later this afternoon. As well, if you have any questions for today's speakers, please put those into the questions box and Sam will address them at the end. All right, Sam Couchy with One Huddle is here. And Sam, I'll pass it over to you to introduce the rest of these great speakers and get us into the content. Sam?
Thanks, Caitlin. Pleasure to be with everybody this afternoon. We got an action-packed hour here lined up, and in a moment, I'm going to hand it over to our panel to introduce themselves and their organizations. We're joined by Jim White, Executive Director at the Covenant House of New Jersey, Michael Hayek, the Director of Employment Services at New Jersey Reentry Corp, and Sonia Rustin, who is leading recruitment intake with Civic Works. To set the table for all of us before we jump into this session, I'm sure we're all tired of hearing the great resignation on the news, and we are most definitely inundated with a tremendous amount of information around hiring and labor challenges today across all businesses, but especially at the International Franchise Association with franchise business models who work very much as small businesses within our communities. The labor challenges may be hitting us a little bit harder. I want to set us up with just a few pieces of data before I hand it off. According to a recent Harvard Business Review study, 27 million workers today are on the sidelines. And a part of their study, Harvard Business Review in October, talked to CEOs about what they think the hiring challenges are. 9 in 10 talked about the fact that their current technology stacks make it really tough for them to find great workers today. And 95% said they know that their current recruiting and hiring practices may in fact be discriminatory and leave folks out that may in fact be qualified. This challenge around recruiting means that organizations must be thinking more broadly, must be more creative, and should be making talent recruiting and development really a cornerstone of their business model. And the folks today are doing tremendous work in our communities and are going to talk a little bit today in today's discussion about maybe some other ideas about how we can find alternative paths and talent pools. So with that, I'd love to first introduce my friend Jim White, Executive Director at the Covenant House of New Jersey. Hey, Jim.
Hey, Sam. Good to be with you all.
Jim, could you give everybody a little background on yourself and your work at the Covenant House?
Sure. So I'm a lifer here at Covenant House. I've been Covenant this year coming up. It'll be 40 years at Covenant House. It's my passion, it's my commitment, and we work with homeless, runaway, and young people who have experienced human trafficking between the ages of 18 to 21. We're really throughout the state from Atlantic City up to here in Newark, providing an array of services, of support services, from food, clothing, shelter, to legal assistance, medical care, job readiness, which is what we want to talk about, and yeah, try to wrap around them fully, and working with other partners in the community. No one can do this alone. So yeah, that's our work, and we have a great team and passionate, and we too are struggling with, so I'm going to listen and take notes as well, because you know we suffer with the hiring challenges that are in front of us today.
Thanks, Jim. Michael, with New Jersey Reentry.
Yes, hello. I'm Mike. I'm with New Jersey Reentry Corporation. A lot like Jim at Covenant House, we do a lot of the same things. We're a nonprofit organization across the state of New Jersey. We have 9 different sites. We basically, our goal is to help our clients obtain gainful employment once they come home from jail, prison, rehab, etc. And to do this, we try to break down all the barriers that they typically face when they come home. A little bit about our company, which starts off with a 1-week orientation period where our clients, again, like Jim's, they get a combination of what we call wraparound services. We give them legal services that consists of help in obtaining any kind of ID that they may need, whether it's social security card, birth certificate, license, state ID. We're able to get that for them. We also provide pro bono help to help vacate fines and recall warrants in some cases. We also have social workers that help with things like healthcare and linkages to housing, as well as ongoing case management. Lastly, we have our employment specialists at each of our 9 sites who assist in things like resume building, mock interviews, job searching, all things of that nature. So I myself work at our training center, which is in Hudson County in Kearney, New Jersey. At our training center, we have an array of different trainings going on. They're vocational trainings that offer industry recognized credentials. And we have a lot of in-demand trainings right now. Just to name a few, we're doing HVAC, we're doing electric, we're doing construction, solar installation, solar sales, IT, peer recovery specialist training, medical assistant, culinary arts, welding, forklift. There's a lot. So once our clients go through their initial 1-week orientation period where they get those wraparound services, they are then eligible to attend any of the various trainings we have here at our training center. So we have over 13,000 clients, and yeah, that's about it. That's us in a nutshell.
Thanks, Mike.
Good to be here. Thanks, Sam.
And Sonia with Civic Works.
Yes, how are you all doing today? My name is Sonia. Great. This is Sonia Reston from Civic Works Center for Sustainable Careers. We are also a nonprofit. We were established in 2003, and we help individuals in the construction trades find sustainable living wages. And how do we do that? We have free training for about 9 to 10 weeks in our BGE Workforce Collaborative Program, Utility Infrastructure. We also provide wraparound services to the individuals as well. They can be coming from jail, they can be coming from recovery centers and all of the workforce development centers within Baltimore City. So we are located in East Baltimore, and we serve many individuals. And how many have we served over the years? We have graduated over 1,000 individuals, and as of November, we've had 100 graduates through our BGE Workforce Collaborative Program. So we're not just training people, we're actually finding them jobs. So they're getting placement services as well with our employer partners. So it's an awesome opportunity to get into returning citizens coming back and getting hired.
Thanks. So, Sonia, first question to you, with the programs at Civic Works, what would be, the audience here, everybody that's with us today are everything from C-level executives to hiring managers to might be a small business owner as a franchisee. It may be a franchisor who's thinking about staffing for tens or hundreds of locations across the US. Sonia, what would be a startling or surprising fact from your seat on the training and recruiting side that may perk the ears up of a talent manager within a brand that maybe they weren't aware of when they think about the audience of clients that you service?
Well, definitely just looking into an untapped resources of prospects, which would be individuals that may have records that don't have anything to do with a particular job that they are doing. And basically looking into drug screening as well, that can also be a barrier as well. But those individuals that may have backgrounds that are, non-criminal offenses that are not, things of that nature that they can kind of tap into, those individuals are ready and they're motivated to work. And they're ready and they're looking for employment because they've been turned away so many times, and they're a highly motivated pool of individuals.
Sure, I'd like to ask the same question, maybe down the line, maybe with Michael, or anything from the reentry side with your clientele that something that you've noticed and seen that again, for talent managers who maybe aren't thinking about NJ Reentry as a channel for them to find talent, that would be something that would interest them.
Yeah, I mean, if you're asking the question like why hire reentry, or what may stick out that you might not notice off Jump Street. Like a lot like Sonia said, these guys and girls, they're hungry to work. They're very motivated. These men and women are coming supervised, whether it's parole, probation, or just our case managers here at Reentry. They report to us in many different ways. So you're getting that third party supervision here. And something you may or may not know, but there's something called the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, as well as federal bonding. So each of our clients at Reentry come federally bonded. So that is a fidelity bond that you don't even have to apply for as an employer. They come federally bonded already. There's no paperwork that needs to be filled out. There's also the Work Opportunity Tax Credit. This is something that you could potentially get significant tax breaks. So it could be reduced up to $2,400 per person that you hire, whether the person is a veteran, a felon, somebody that's receiving SNAP benefits. All these people are eligible for this tax credit. And, you know, everybody deserves a second chance. That's the bottom line. That's what we're all about. I mean, I don't know about you, but me, I wouldn't want to be judged on one mistake that I made when I was younger and have to live by that the rest of my life. These people are hungry. They're looking for a second chance. They're motivated. And I would recommend anybody that comes out of our training program specifically, but yeah, that's about it.
Thanks, Mike. Jim, I found something doing my homework for today. 47 million Americans live in poverty. 1/5 are children. So I guess same question to you. What are maybe some to put it the way Mike put it, like why hire from the Covenant House?
Well, I think I can, sing from the choir with Mike and with, with Sonia, but I do think that for our population, which is that older adolescent, young adult, they are very they're able to be formed, right? So you can bring them in and really mold them and educate them and train them and set the standard by your culture and how you do what you do. They're often green to that experience, and so I think it's a great opportunity to really help educate and form the worker into your culture and how you want your work to be done. So I think for the young worker, although they can be inexperienced, sometimes I think that inexperience, right, can work in your favor, because sometimes people's experience are not that positive and they don't have good work habits or skills. And I think it's an opportunity to do that if you have the interest to commit resources and support to the young worker.
On that support question, Jim, what do you think are some of the best practices to being successful? If I was hiring a young person out of the Covenant House,
Yeah.
what have you seen as best practices to be successful with that candidate versus maybe where some people have struggled or failed?
Well, that's a good question, Sam. And I think, for a lot of our kids, they're charming. So they do pretty well in the interview. It's about retention for us, and surely for you as employers, it's all about retention. And so I think one of the things that we found is job coaching really can add some value. The other thing I would say, I don't know if this is another question, but I can't help myself. I want to kind of give you what I think is really impactful is that, you have 3 organizations here that are really committed to partner with employers to really get our people, our clients, ready to work with you. I mean, so often I know for the employers, they end up being social workers for some of their staffers. And I think that's a wonderful thing. It shows a spirit of really caring and moving. But 2 things: 1, you're really not trained to do that, and 2, we as providers really want to help do that, and we think we can help marry that. So if you're struggling with an employee and you have that release and you can reach back, to Sonia or Michael or someone in our organization, they can kind of sing and support you and what you're trying to achieve from your worker. So I think for me, I think the exciting thing, and we're seeing some real success in, is working with employers and really figuring out what is your end in mind, what is essential to you, what are the things that are important to your culture. Some of our kids are really good personalities and really have the ability. So if you really need somebody who's meeting with the public and dealing with them, then we can work and hone that. For others, they're not as skilled. So I think it's the relationship between the employers and our organizations could really add some real value, creates take away some of your pain from bringing in the wrong candidates, but also that ongoing support, because retention is so important, as you all know better than I do. But I think we as providers can help you all as we get to know you, who you are, what you need, so that when someone comes to your organization, we've done some really exciting things on like pre-training and ongoing training and ongoing coaching with some of our providers, and some of our employers for our kids are pretty technical. So we're really trying to spend and give them the time so that because by the way, my clients, and I'm sure it's true for Sonia and Michael, they want to walk in with some confidence. They want to walk in feeling I belong here. And often our young people, and I'm sure I can speak for others, that they don't feel like they belong. So if we can do some work together to get them ready so that when they walk into your shop, wherever you are, that they're positioned well to be successful and retain employment.
Sonia, what do you think about that?
I think everything he said was right on the, ball. I think
Thank you, Sonia.
it's
Come
a
on,
great
girl.
perspective. I mean, especially with the youth. I know that for us, it's 18 and older. But definitely as a recruiter myself, that's all I do is recruit. So I'm looking in, a recruitment lens, as well as what, people are looking for. But there are alternative and, untapped resources, like I stated before, that can really be utilized to hire people and get quality individuals. All right.
Mike, when you walk into the governor's training and reentry center in New Jersey, where you're sitting right now, you can't help but see logos of brands from the community that are involved that are there. Anything that you've seen on this question of like where have brands succeeded versus brands struggled?
I think it's more along the lines of the strength of the partnerships when speaking of, what you need to make these partnerships work, what you need to have these jobs ready for your clients once they finish their respective trainings. And that all boils down to having some sort of MOU with certain establishments, companies, or franchises, or just a letter of commitment stating that the organization is willing to consider your candidates once they complete their training, if and when there are any openings within the establishment. So having those, that document in place, just establishing this relationship with companies that might be interested in taking on some of our reentry clients, that's paramount. I mean, you need to, on my end, it's a lot of outreach, explaining to people, what we're all about, and because not everybody knows what we do here. And it's, if you're not actually looking for it, it's not an easy thing to find unless you're Googling it, like reentry programs throughout the state and things of that nature. So we do a lot of outreach, and like I said, those MOUs and those letters of agreement with partnerships are very key and crucial to the success of our clients in the long run.
Sure. Today organizations are trying to, continue to stand up processes to find candidates, and then they have to make sure that they properly assess through some type of interview process. Some organizations do better than others in what that interview process looks like before they make a selection. I just want to open this up to the group. Are there any suggestions that you have for organizations who really are committed to exploring different pathways, whether it's through any of the organizations here? What should I change in my interview process, which may in fact be rooted in some level of discrimination, or may be rooted inadvertently with some steps in the process that make it harder on certain populations of candidates to be able to get properly evaluated before a hiring decision is made and screened the correct way. Are there any recommendations you would have for folks on what they could maybe adjust in their interview recruiting process to get a better look at your clients before making a decision?
Well, I think there's two things on that. One is that, and I guess I'm piggybacking on what I said before, and that as you do your recruitment, to partner with an organization that can help you screen. And one of the things we do now with Audible, who's been a great partner with us, they come in and they do a training / interview. And after a period of time, they can say, and we just went through it with them before, and 4 out of 5 of our young people made the cut in customer service, which is, a pretty skilled thing, but they were able to say, no, this one person isn't going to make it. And I want to go back to what Michael said, in that MOU and commitment. They're committed to hiring our people, so they are going to take a chance. It is a bit of a chance taking. We understand that. They're not have a long resume or large experience. They're young, right? They're 18 to 21. But they've made an investment, and to really kind of, so it's a marriage between training and interview. The kids weren't promised the job. They knew they had to go through it. And they can do things that are really important, like timing and showing up on time, and they can see those things in that period of time. So that would be one thing that I would say, to maybe change the process and practice by making an investment with partners to help train / interview. It saves you a lot of money and time, puts a little bit more on us, but at the end of the day, I think you get a better employee. So that would be the one. The other thing is not as easy, and this is going to require a commitment from the hirer or the HR department. And I think that is really understanding who our people are, and Sonia and Michael can talk well about it. But for us, there's what we would call generational poverty and situational poverty. And those people who experience those two are very different. And so if you want to hire someone who is part of what's called generational poverty, they have different challenges. And it's not as simple as, I couldn't even address it today because it would take a minute. And generational poverty is those who've experienced poverty over generations, right? And so they have a different way in which they operate in the world. And there's been a lot of work on it. But I think if companies got a little deeper sense of what that is, they could change their model so as to be more inclusive, more supportive, more sensitive, and more conscious is the word I'd like to use, more conscious of those people living in poverty. And that's going to take a minute. You're not going to do that, on a quick commercial, but take my name down. I'd be happy to educate you.
Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, a lot like Jim was saying, when taking into consideration what to keep in mind when interviewing our guys and girls, it's important to know, we talk about second chances. The reality of the fact is that a lot of these men and women never got a first chance. These are people that have, been incarcerated for potentially long periods of time since they were very young. A lot of them grew up in neighborhoods that weren't, very conducive to growing up, quote unquote, normally. And it's important to take into consideration when interviewing them that there's a lot on the line for them in this interview. They might not have had experience interviewing, period, before. So this could be their first time ever sitting down in an actual interview. And a lot of our clients, are homeless. So like I was saying, this is a lot on the line on these interviews. So if we're going to ask the hard questions as employers about their criminal history, I think it's also important to ask those follow-up questions on where you see yourself in the future, and in 5-10 years from now. What have you learned from your mistakes? Things of that nature. Something that will keep the mood calm and cool. So, because I know a lot of the times once they get asked those tough questions about their past, it doesn't translate into a smooth interview process the rest of the way for a lot of them, because they get nervous. They don't have much experience interviewing. So yeah.
That's a great point. Sonia, what do you think?
Definitely, just piggybacking off of what he said as far as transparency, definitely. I know in our intake process with anything, we always have a skills test or a hands-on experience evaluation. So depending on what the task at hand is, it's just kind of giving them the opportunity to see if it's what they really want to do, or if it's something that you could say, this person was really good at doing this. He may have this, background, but when I actually met him and he did the task, he was amazing. So that's just another way of kind of seeing the person ahead of time before, in the job, giving that opportunity and motivating them that that's not going to be a barrier.
Yeah, more interactive interviewing, maybe techniques depending on the role, right? Because so much of what you do is in construction. Do you find yourself at Civic Works being assistive with brands to like suggest those ideas? I mean, how is that playing out?
Well, depending on the nature, I mean, more than likely our employer partners are going to be construction based, but non-industry placements, depending on what the tasks are, not necessarily. It hasn't been something that they've looked into, but it would be a good suggestion if they look into it.
With this is a question I'm going to put out to everybody that this is like the coming usually from like the thinking HR person. How do you know your program works? Like, what data? Do you have any data? Do you have any studies? Do you have any, what are the numbers? Can maybe you all share maybe 2 or 3 or a story around maybe some metrics that you point to that with success getting getting your clients ready to work?
So, I mean, I'll go first. When speaking of successes and what we do specifically at Reentry, I think there's so many different things that you could look at. We have over a 50% employment rate from top to bottom out of the 13,000 people that we have as clients right now. Out of the 13,000, 6,000 of those have been referred to maintenance treatment for addiction. I think there's over 3,000 who have obtained identification such as birth certificate, social security card, or license. And I think most importantly, we have less than a 20% reincarceration rate for anybody who completes our 1-week orientation. Less than 10% after the first 6 months. So I think that would be the big one there. And just as far as success stories goes, as part of what we do at Reentry, we offer our clients a hot meal every day when they're here, because the orientation consists of a 9 o'clock to 1 p.m. schedule. So we give them lunch every day. One of our clients that went through our program went on to open up his own food establishment, and now we order all the lunches for all the clients across the board in New Jersey from him as our guy that we order lunch from. So I think that's an awesome success story. His name is Candido. He's a great guy. He does a great job for us at Reentry.
That's a great number, Mike. That's a lot of people that you're bringing to the workforce. That's great. We are, what I'm excited about is what we're trying to do is diversify. And so we have 4 or 5 different tracks. One is technology. We're working with Salesforce along with Accenture, 2 of our partners, to get our young people connected to technology. And it's in its infant stage, but we're really excited at just trying to diversify, the number of, or the opportunities. I mentioned to you the work that we're doing with Audible and doing that training. A cool story there is that I mentioned before, 4 of our 5 went through a training / interview, and the trainer was one of our young people who went through Covenant House and has moved up in the system, and so now she's an educator. So that was a pretty cool story.
All right, and for Civic Works, we have a graduation rate of over 85%, individuals that are placed in jobs with our employer partners, over 30% obtaining their driver's license, as many come to us with barriers not having them. We also have 30 cars purchased. So we have a car match assistance program to help individuals where we match them up to $1,000 to assist them with driving and other perks when they're coming in. We have bus passes and gas cards. So we have a lot of great numbers, and we have a 76% 1-year retention rate. So not only do individuals go through our program, we actually follow up with them 2 years later as well, just to make sure they're still in that field or if they need a non-industry placement.
And I think across the board with all three of your organizations, you have a pretty large operation to stay connected to your clients even after potential placement. Can we talk about those types of maybe support services and what that looks like and things you're hearing? Because again, I think that's another huge a huge point to make mention to employers who know that there's, again, other resources and support around a candidate.
So we have in our program, we have an aftercare program that after they leave our shelter or they're living in the community, that we have 3 staff people who are constantly out there engaging with them, making sure that, for a lot of our people who are just out of homelessness, they don't have an extensive savings, and the net below them is quite thin. And so just a missing of a payment or getting sick or a myriad of issues, right, can happen and could really put them right back into homelessness. So not to really provide that support would, I wouldn't say negligent, but they work really hard, and then life is life, right? Challenges are challenges, and they need often that support to maintain and to stay stable. So many of us have all those safety nets. A lot of our young people, they don't have that, right? That's why they're homeless and they're on their own. So we think it's really essential, Sam, to have that, follow up, follow through. What do you need? Rent's behind, ... as they make mistakes, we have to try to be there to help support them and, stabilize them as they move towards, greater maturity and greater stabilization.
Yeah, so what we do is we try to meet the clients where they're at specifically, whether that's the first day they come through for orientation when they take their biopsychosocial exam with the social worker, or whether it's 8 months after orientation when we're doing our monthly check-ins with our clients, our case management, just to see where they're at. What can we help them with now? Is there anything you need help with? Here's what we're doing. Here are the programs that we offer now. Would you like to enroll in any of these programs? So yeah, case management is everything when it comes to how well we're doing as an establishment with our clients.
Absolutely. We also have a wonderful case management team as well as a retention specialist who specifically just reaches out to those individuals on an ongoing basis. And we use a lot of our Salesforce methods to reach out to them, to invite them back for continuous, certifications and recertifications as well.
Sounds like we all use Salesforce.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Maybe you can hire some of my young people who are learning Salesforce.
Yeah.
It was said earlier about hungry to work, and one of the things I hear often, from One Huddle when I'm talking to HR folks is when I'm looking at how they're conducting an interview process, I'll hear constantly there's this kind of credential mapping motion that occurs for whatever reason, where they're maybe looking for a specific formal credential to be in place in order to be the trigger to carry the candidate to the next step in the interview process. But with so many, even though there's tremendous work being done here for formal credentials across all three of your organizations, what are the hidden credentials that again, to bring a question back from earlier, the things that would surprise us, what are the hidden skills and credentials that you see your clients having that would knock it out of the park with brands? When you look at the franchising community, this is 8 million jobs. There's 1,100 member brands, from retail to restaurants to auto, 300 plus sectors. So are there hidden skills or credentials that we should bubble up for franchisees and franchisors to be aware of as to why this alternative recruiting path maybe could be their primary recruiting path?
Well, I'm fearful that I'm going to be repeating myself, but I do think it might be worth repeating. I'm getting old, so I tend to do that these days, repeat myself. But I think that for us, the worker is unformed, and that could be a real negative, right? You look at the resume, you go, ah, you got no experience. But if you have no experience and you don't really have a long work history, you could really bring them in and say, no, everybody here comes 15 minutes early. That's what we do, right? And you can really help form them in their work habits. And so that would be kind of turning the resume kind of thing upside down a little bit. Obviously, they have to be open to that. And that's where a partnership with us as providers and service providers really can come in, because we can, identify that type of worker. So again, partnering with us to help identify the worker that is hungry. I think Michael said that before, which I think is a lot of our people. But their inexperience could be, to your point, Sam, the turned around opportunity to get someone to fall into our culture and become a valued employee.
Sonia, what do you think?
Go ahead. Is it Michael or Sonia? Me?
Go ahead, Sonia.
All right. I think longevity, because individuals in this, returning citizens, they're also looking to start right away. They're very, ready to work. And a lot of times you're dealing with retention. You're dealing with people who are, not trying to work for long periods of time. If they find a better opportunity, they're leaving. But these individuals are like, this is a great opportunity. I haven't been given an opportunity before. I feel like I want to stay. So you're looking at stability in the job force and retention rates just, spiraling up as well.
Yeah. I just think that, our men and women, they're just searching for a chance to reinvent themselves. They're searching for that sense of dignity and self-worth that can be offered to them through employment. And they're not taking these chances for granted too. These men and women they know the importance of this job, and they know what it's like not to have one, or not to have anything for that matter. So you're going to be getting men and women who are super motivated, and like we were saying earlier, they're hungry for the job, and they're not going to take it for granted.
And your organizations are not different than many private sector franchise brands here, in that end of year budgets and end of year planning, you all are probably in the midst of a lot of chaos getting ready for 2022. I want to ask you all what you're most excited about in 2022 within your organization. Is there an initiative or a program or something being built? Not setting up Jim. But is there something, what are the most exciting things you have going on next year? Give us a little view into maybe some of that.
So for us, we're implementing our welding program starting next year, and we're building out on our first floor, and we're going to have 8 different welding stations right next to our state-of-the-art HVAC laboratory across the hall. So that's very exciting for us over here. We're also looking into doing the CDL program over here as we speak. So I'm just excited for all the new opportunities that we're going to be able to provide to our clients as far as, jobs and job placement, job training. So there's a lot going on here at my training center specifically.
As for Civic Works, we're definitely excited to add more individuals to our training. It's in person and virtual as well. So with our utility infrastructure, just growing that and helping more individuals get hired. So that's always exciting, just giving that opportunity to more people as we are breaking through COVID, and hopefully it will be something we can break through.
Yeah, the 2 things I'm really excited about is, one is that we're going to transform our physical plant here in Newark to be more focused on building resilience and work resilience, right? An ability to stay with and to grow and to develop. That's kind of the physical plant growth, but the inner growth will be the coaching. We're really excited about getting people to help our young people as coaches, a volunteer program where people in the fields will work with our young people for a period of time. And what we're thinking and imagining is we're really looking for people who are willing to, I have 4 children and they're all working and they all kind of network through my network. Right. And so can we get volunteers or coaches who are willing to work with young people, get them positioned, and then give them kind of their personal stamp of approval, help them in LinkedIn, move them into employment, coach them through those tough times working on, and really help our young people move into the world of work and stay in the world of work and commit to them. So that's kind of innovative. And some people are concerned because they think, you got boundary issues, which, yeah, we get that. But if we don't take a risk, right, if we don't really put ourselves out there and take chances, I think it's the same old, same old. And so I would offer to all of you on the call to take a risk, to take advantage of the people who are hungry, people on, the different populations, and really try to understand and invest in them by working with partners. And I'm excited about the more and more partners that we get, the more and more employers who are really are in this conversation. How great is that? I mean, I know that it's kind of at a need because we can't find the people to work, but that pushes us into creativity, right? It pushes us into risk. It pushes us into moving outside our comfort zone and our boundaries. So I really think I'm really excited about what we all can be in the future as we work collaboratively to solve this really important problem for all of us. It really can be a win-win if we work collaboratively, and I think take some risk.
Yeah, I think the thing I heard across everybody at some point here was, the opportunity and necessity to work alongside your organizations. And it's not just to, look for a candidate and that's it. It's to get involved in the community and get involved in the programs. And maybe there's spillover opportunities that occur from your volunteering or your, advice or training or resources, but, it's two-way street. So being involved is kind of a critical ingredient to success.
Yeah, and Sam, to put it back on you, since let's put it back on Sam. You've gotten very involved in the community and have been really involved. What has been the value add for you as an employer and working in Newark and working in this community and networking with nonprofits like all of us? How has that been for you as the lead in your organization?
Yeah, I think there's many, but if I were to pick one, it's the impact on the rest of my team. The work and the opportunity to work alongside organizations like Covenant House, NJ Reentry, and some other great groups in New Jersey has had a positive spillover effect on our other team members who have seen and gotten exposure and opportunity to interact and collaborate and work alongside folks from your programs. It's also instilled a sense of, it's not just a mission statement on the wall. It's easy to, I think a point was made earlier about it's easy just to do a commercial. When your team really starts to get involved and see the work that's being done, it's exciting to me to start to see their involvement in programs as well. So I think that we talk about employee engagement a lot in the franchising community. I mean, it's the ultimate opportunity to engage. It starts with our community and starts with our people. So I think that's been the biggest impact on us. With that, we got a few questions, a bunch of questions actually lined up here. I hope we're ready. From Amanda Hart. Question is, how do you team up with Reentry when in a rural area? What as an employer should we be doing to support potential employees who have high barriers of entry? So how do we team up with Reentry when in a rural area? And what as an employer should we be doing to support potential employees with higher barriers to entry? Maybe Mike, you want to jump in first?
Sure. I mean, it's specifically for reentry. Like I said, we have 9 different sites, anywhere from Patterson, Passaic County, Hudson County, Monmouth County, Middlesex County, Essex County, Ocean County, you name it. We're basically across the board in New Jersey. And I welcome anybody who's interested in taking that risk and who wants to jump on board with reentry to come out and visit any of our sites. Because I could guarantee you, no matter where you are in New Jersey, rural or urban, we're going to have a site that's anywhere from maybe 5 to 15 miles from where you are. So, and I wanted to say that before also, just, you know, visit these establishments, visit Reentry, visit Covenant House, and just, I'm sorry, Sonia, what was the name of your company again?
Civic Works, we're in Baltimore.
Yeah, you guys are in Baltimore, but anybody in New Jersey, please come out and just see for yourself the good things that we're doing at any of our sites. I'm at Kearney in Hudson County, our training center, where we have a multitude of trainings going on a daily basis. So you're all more than welcome to come visit here anytime. And I'll make sure I leave my contact info with Sam in the chat. So if anybody has any questions about how to contact us or set up any kind of partnership, I'd be more than happy to sit with you on a call personally.
You know, I love that question too, and I think that there's an openness to, and the barriers aren't one, right, as you all know. And so I think to get to know, as Michael prescribed, is good, because then you can find out whether it's a transportation barrier or it's a language barrier or it's a housing barrier, whatever those are, and you kind of cross over. I mean, I think sometimes we're throwing across the river, and we need to build that bridge so as to work more collectively. Although it sounds like you guys are a little ahead of us in your marrying organizations, but I really think that's going to be required. It's going to require more of you to come across the other side and get to know what those barriers are, to co-create solutions. So it's got to be co-owned from us as the provider, as well as the employee, as well as the employer. So more work to be done.
I think when I think about rural, I think about transportation automatically. So that could just be a barrier in just building in incentives to incentivize it, you know, individuals to come out there. So where you're located and how can they get there? So just having an incentive built in, like how we have gas cards and bus passes to get people to where they need to go. Because if they're in the city and you guys are 15 miles away, or they just can't make it there, but they're a great employee. So just kind of looking at that as an option.
Great. Another question from Paul Franklin is about if in any of your programs, do you find yourself teaching entrepreneurship as a topic area? Does any of your programming or seminars or training or mentorship touch on entrepreneurship as a topic area?
In our organization, we really follow people's passions. So we don't provide an entrepreneurial program that people fit into, but we just had a young man with us who was an artist, and just that was his passion. And now he's doing artistry in the community and doing murals. And, you know, we got a few that we pay for internally here at Covenant House, trying to support that passion. So that would be the way that we would handle it, but we don't really provide a entrepreneurship program. But we've had that it's kind of the opposite way, where people come with this, I have this thing I've got to do. And that we try to, you know, put wind in their sail and help them move forward.
I think with our organization, we have ways of utilizing what our program has to offer, and if they want to start their own business. So within professional development, those, you know, things will come into play with your OSHA 30 and your OSHA 40 and, you know, other routes once you're going through our program and things of that nature.
So part of what we do at Reentry during our orientation week, one of the segments that the clients will sit through is a presentation by the UCEDC to let them know, anybody who's interested in entrepreneurship, how to take out small business loans and things of that nature. And they could even go further as to sign up for a course with the UC-EDC through us while they're here, which is a few months worth of a course. But yes, all of our clients are given that opportunity and provided that chance to take that course.
What type of resources currently, or do you have plans in the future? And Paul said, thank you for that answer. What other resources are you considering offering in the future to help employers navigate hiring someone from your program? This obviously came up earlier with us all around collaboration being required, but are there any specific programs or resources you provide for employers?
Well, one of the things we're thinking about, there are programs out there that I think are really good, and one of the things we're looking at is possibly working with employers who really want to understand who our young people are, who people are who've lived in poverty, what are their challenges, and again, it's not to make excuses, it's to empathize and to co-create solutions. And you can only do that if you understand. And I think there's a real gap between the experiences of our kids who come from inner city, often violent issues, and as I mentioned before, generational poverty that has its other challenges. So to work with partners who will empathize and get connected to, and help us be work on solutions together. It's again, I think it has to be co-owned and co-created, those solutions. And each group, each sector that's being represented here has a different dynamic and a different challenge. And I think to empathize with that and to understand it and to be partners with us as we create, positive solutions could really be, I think too, Sam, and you know this, you've gotten to know our kids well. And I think it's giving you a connectedness to their position and plight and helping us to think through trainings for our young people. So that's a good story, right? And I think that, I always say, well, not I always say, but a bad diagnosis equals a bad prescription. And so you got to know it. You got to get into it. And I think it's going to require employers to understand these populations more, to take a visit to the various programs, to deepen their understanding, and then be in the conversation regarding solutions. And so it's going to take the employer to leave their place and get connected. And yeah, I know that's a challenge, but I think if we're going to solve this, we have to think differently. And getting next to us and getting next to our clients and getting next to our workers, who I think will inspire you, is a good thing for you. It's a good thing for business. And I know it's a great thing for our clients.
Well said, Jim.
Another follow-up on that one regarding, and this comes right back to you, Jim, regarding, and which can open to everybody, regarding hiring homeless, do you provide an employee address for them? It's a specific question from Paul.
Yeah, we do, Paul. We do provide them an address, and it's our address, and even if they leave us, then there was 2 young people in this morning waiting for their mail as we reached out and let them know they had mail and got connected. And even for some of our kids who remain kind of what we call couch surfers or transient, we can be their base for them as they try to continue, stay employed. It's amazing how resilient our people are to maintain that employment. They know it. I just wanted to say something I didn't say before, but we often have people who come in who are diagnosed as depressed. And when they get a job, that diminishes. And Mike mentioned it early on, the sense of self-worth, the sense of value add, of contributing, of standing on their own. It's good for the soul. So it's not, many of our people are not looking for a handout. They're looking for that hand up kind of thing, which, I know is, a commercial, but I think it's very true for our people. And we see, their spirit change by employment.
Great. I have a question. I know I had a few questions already, but we kind of got those together. I have a question that, I'm a big reader. I know some of us here as well are. What is your holiday book recommendation for everybody here that's on this webinar now, who's probably going to come out of this call and say, I want to dig in deeper, I want to learn more? Do you have any, it doesn't have to be a book, it could be a podcast, could be a TED Talk, could be a resource, but do you have any holiday book recommendations for any of our attendees to dive deeper into, a topic related to, your everyday?
Well, I'm not sure this is a book that, you want to sit by the fire in a hot toddy with, but this is the book that I would recommend. It's called, so funny that I didn't know you were going to ask this question, but it's called Bridges Out of Poverty. And I think it's a real good book that really talks about the challenges of those that I spoke about, what's called generational poverty. And those, I think it can give you an insight and a connection to, and the challenges, as well as some solutions too. So that would be the Christmas holiday reading. Everyone, and I don't know why I'm promoting it, but it gave me insight, and I think it might help others to again to plug in. It's all about inclusion, right? That's where we're moving, hopefully, in the planet, and that inclusion is about getting to understand and get insight into various perspectives. And I think this book is one of the books that I don't want to overwhelm anybody, but I'm a reader too, Sam. So that's what I would say. Bridges Out of Poverty.
I would have to say Managing to Change the World by Allison Green and Jerry Hauser. It basically is a nonprofit guide to managers who guide to just kind of getting results. So it could be transferable to all. As a recruiter and my background is HR, this book is definitely recommended. So check this one out for the holidays. And it has holiday colors too, so it's awesome.
Pressure's on, Mike. We're just popping a book.
Where's your book?
I'm gonna be candid, and I got nothing for you, Sam. I got nothing for you. I wish I had time to read, man. I got 3 kids and coaching sports for my children. It's just forget it. By the time I'm done, I hit the pillow and I'm out. So I haven't read in a while, to be honest with you.
Follow NJ Reentry on Facebook. You all have enough content coming out every day.
Yeah, we got a ton of content on Reentry, on njreentry.org.
You're not going to be doing any reading. You're going to be doing rapping.
Yeah, exactly. November.
Few minutes left. I'd love to give everybody here the last word. We'll go around the horn. Maybe Mike, you can kick us off with 2 things. One, if folks here want to learn more, want to connect with you and your organization, how can they do that? And number 2, just give everybody a parting word of hope as we enter the holiday season.
So anybody who's interested in any further information about New Jersey Reentry Corporation, it's njreentry.org. You can go right online. It'll give you all of our sites, the addresses, the phone numbers, and I highly encourage people to come out and see for themselves, like we spoke about today, all the good things that we have going on here, and just see the excitement in our participants' eyes, and the determination to better themselves. And I'm going to leave my information as well in the chat, Sam, if that's all right. I'll give you my office and my cell, as well as my email. But like we all said earlier, everybody deserves a second chance. And what better gift to give around the holiday season, like you're saying, Sam. God bless everybody. Thank you for taking the time to listen and learn. I appreciate it.
Jim?
Well, I mean, Covenant House is an international organization. We're throughout the country. We're also in Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Mexico City. We're in Vancouver and Toronto, and we may be in a city near you. So you can reach out to covenanthouse.org. I'm at covenanthousenewjersey.org. And this is my passion. So if you wanted to call me and just chat about it, I mean, I think we all have to be, think outside the box. I want to think bigger than just, here in New Jersey or Newark, right? So that's what I would say. And I think you know, the positive is that I do think that we are feeling a lot of pressure, and it's forcing us to think differently. And when we're forced to think differently, really smart, creative people who I believe are on this call come up with imaginative things and creative things. I've seen it in the last few years. As I said earlier, I've been here a long time. And in the last few years, I think there's been real innovation, even with Zoom and with other calls and WebEx and all the things we're willing to do and able to do. It's changing the landscape. It's forcing us to think differently. Oh, but that's another book, Think Differently by Adam Grant. There's a Christmas read. And so I'm excited about this. I'm as excited as I've ever been. And I'm excited because I think we're being challenged, and we are a nation of creativity and innovation, and can't wait to see how you guys are going to solve it. I just put it back on you.
Thanks, Jim. Sonia?
Absolutely. I'll leave my information in the chat. I guess I'll send it to you, Sam, and you can get it to anyone else. And definitely just have a wonderful holiday. I know it's challenging even at this time, just, you know, the holidays are coming, but these are the times where people get a little down, and it's just, you know, a great opportunity if they can start a new year with a new job and an opportunity that will last a lifetime and actually help their lives and have a sustainable living wage. So thanks for listening today.
Thanks, everybody. And, you know, I just want to share one thing. I'll kick it over to Caitlin. This was a note just came through. Thank you, Jim, Sonia, Michael. I'm excited to take this back to the team and see how we can do this in our area. Mission accomplished. Caitlin, over to you.
All right. Thank you guys so much, Jim, Sonia, Michael. This was a fabulous, fabulous discussion and a great way to end our labor and hiring series. And to Sam and One Huddle, thank you so much for being able to bring us this great speakers and this content today. I really hope everyone here is going to take it back, is going to push it into their teams, into their business and their community, because I think this is really great what you guys are doing. So thank you all again for your time. Thank you for everyone on all the attendees for investing in your education here with IFA. And like everyone said here, it really just takes, you know, a little bit of help to really bring success to not only your business, but your employees. So again, thank you, Jim, Sonia, Michael, Sam, One Huddle. Thank you all so much. This was recorded, is available on community.franchise.org later today. As well, our annual convention is in February 26th to March 1st in San Diego, California. We will be having some more talks about hiring and, you know, getting through that, but a lot of other things to improve your business as well. So registration is open. Early bird ends December 31st. So make sure you check that out before the end of the year, and everybody have a safe and happy holidays. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Caitlin. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.